Most people who remember 1964 might remember it as the year that the Beatles broke through. Remember, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show and had their first big hit in 1964. But if you're a real connoisseur of 60s music, you might remember that 1964 was also the year that Bill Medley and Bobby Hatfield had their very first big hit, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It was a great song, and they had a great sound, you know. The 60s, we know the 60s had some things in them that we would rather not remember. Not everything was positive about it, but the music was fabulous. Guess who grew up in the 60s, right? Music was wonderful. It's just something, I feel sorry for our young folks here. They're deprived of this. And besides, as Christians, how could we not like the music of the Righteous Brothers? They were fabulous. But we're not actually here to have a little seminar on 60s music this morning. Maybe we'll have a class. I don't know. That would be fun. But I'm going to talk about what that song is about. That's a classic breakup song, right? She's lost that lovin' feeling. Maybe if you're a little bit younger, you remember they used that in the movie Top Gun. But in any event, lost that lovin' feeling. It kind of exemplifies, to me anyway, what the 60s were all about. That love is a feeling. All right? Love is what you feel. All right? Now that's a good thing. We like to feel love. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't feel love. And although there are many, many individual circumstances surrounding this, I wonder, though, if it's truly a coincidence that as we got into this love and feeling throughout the 60s, divorce rates skyrocketed. Because people are thinking about love as a feeling, and only a feeling. And when you've lost that loving feeling, whoa, 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 everything is over. I'm not really sure that's what Jesus had in mind. As Christians, I wonder, are we called to something a little bit more than a loving feeling? Now, it's true, Jesus had feelings. That human part of this marvelous concoction of the divine and the human had feelings. He weeps when he sees that Lazarus has indeed died. And he mourns over the fate of Jerusalem. And he, if you remember from the Gospel of Luke, he sweats blood as he agonizes in the Garden of Gethsemane. Yes, Christ had feelings. But if you look through the Gospels, he almost never talks about those feelings. He's mostly acting out those feelings. The love that is embedded in him as God made flesh, as the Word walking among us, isn't theoretical, and it's not just, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I mean, he says that, but what does he do? He acts it out. He helps people. He brings them the love of God in an actual and tangible way. In his ministry, in his Gospels, in his preaching, in his miracles. He makes God's love tangible. And that's what we are called to do. That's what Christ means when he says we should love each other as the Father loves you. For God so loved the world that he actually sacrifices his only Son that we might have eternal life. I don't know how you can have love greater than that. And we are called to do the same, to reach out to others, to act. In our first epistle reading this morning, James talks about. Be doers of the word. Well, what is the word? The word is love. Another cultural reference there for you Beatles fans. The word is love. Be doers of love. That's what James is telling his followers. And he kind of outlines some really unpleasant things that might happen if you're not. You're going to be a hypocrite. That is the dirty word to Jesus. You're a hypocrite. Right? You have to act, not simply feel. And let me give you another cultural example of this. How many of you have seen the movie The Wedding Planner? Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Lopez. That's okay if you've seen it and you're too embarrassed. Don't worry. Jennifer Lopez's father's from the old world, and he and his wife were in an arranged marriage. They met on the day they were married. So there's no love and feeling or anything, really, to start out with, and they don't know what to do with each other. And Jennifer Lopez is all upset about this. How could you possibly do that? And he explains to her that over time, they get to know each other. And then he falls ill, and she takes care of him, brings him soup, and they talk, and she cares for him. And he says, like turned into love. Not because of how they felt, though ultimately they do get that love and feeling, but because of what they did. They acted lovingly to each other. Now, it's fiction, of course, but I have wondered. Anybody here in an arranged marriage? Sometimes I wonder if that constraint makes people work a little bit harder at it. Makes them realize they have to live into what they have said they were going to do, the love that they're going to maybe not have at the beginning, but they are going to create over time. Well, that's exactly how our relationship is with Christ and how we reflect that relationship out into the world. Christ has loved us, and we are called to love others in action. God so loved the world. Now, here's another example for you, not from popular culture. Probably the holiest person I can think of in my lifetime, Mother Teresa. Working in the slums of Calcutta with the untouchables, people that society had literally kicked to the curb. Day in and day out for years, bringing them hope, peace, and the grace of Christ. And when she passed away, she wanted people to burn her journals, private thoughts that she had written down. But unfortunately, or I don't know, perhaps fortunately for us, someone got a hold of them. And in her journals, she had written that never, not once in all those years, did she feel God present with her. It was like a dark night of the soul that lasted her entire life. Can you believe that? This woman who went out every day in circumstances that you and I could barely imagine, of poverty and illness, bringing the hope and grace of Jesus Christ into these people's lives. And yet she herself never felt that hope and grace. And yet she did it anyway. Think about that. She never got that love and feeling, but she did it anyway. We are all called to that. I'm not suggesting that we don't have the tender feelings, the love, the emotion that we share with our loved ones. What I am suggesting is that as followers of Christ, we are called to add on to that. We are called to a little bit more than just feeling it. No one wants to admit it, perhaps, but the love and feeling, it does come and go. It can be transient, but Christ's love does not. And that is what has been implanted within us as followers of Christ. So I invite you all to pull out your old 60s records, if you still have a record player. Listen to Love, 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 or You've Lost That Love and Feeling All. Listen to the Lovin' Spoonful. Yeah, it's okay. I do it. But remember, love divine, all loves excelling, is a little bit more than that. Hold that in your heart as you follow the light of Christ. Amen. I think we will be able to express that in a hymn also, one of